Alright guys, welcome to Tardis Talk, the Doctor Who podcast which delves deep into the time vortex to bring you not only our thoughts on the latest episode, but digs even further to bring you theories, Easter eggs, and did I mention, spoilers. This week we're of course talking the Doctor Who 2015 Christmas special, The Husbands of River Song, which takes place on Christmas Day 5343 as the 12th Doctor meets up with River, only for not to recognise him with his new haircut and suit. So Elle, what did you make of The Husbands of River Song?
I really enjoyed the episode. I wasn't going in expecting a great deal, but I really loved it. I know from previews Moffat said it wasn't going to be like the typical Doctor and River relationship, but I really enjoyed it. It was a brilliant take on it, and it kind of wasn't overshadowed with Christmas like in past years. It's been like a big theme, whereas this one, it kind of focused a lot more on the characters and like the kind of River Song arc we've got to know and love, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode, and like you say, it wasn't really focused around Christmas. We did have like the snow and things when it first started, and I thought it would be, but it was more focused on just River and the Doctor, and obviously King Hydroflax. I thought it was pretty good. It felt different to what we see in the rest of the season, because the entire season with the overtone of Clara's death or impending exit, it's kind of made everything really serious and really dark. And I think this one, it was kind of just a nice little Christmas break to have a fun and kind of comedy episode. There's so much more comedy in it. I think Matt Lucas was really good. What did you make of that?
Yeah, definitely. It's possibly one of the most lighted-heart episodes that we've had in a long time, and I did really enjoy it. I think the thing is with Christmas episodes, because you don't expect a great deal, and it's kind of more of a family tradition to watch it, and things that you don't need these massive stories with a lot of cliffhangers and things like that. So you kind of tone down the expectations, but I really liked it. I will say, for all I loved Matt Lucas in it, I didn't think he brought an awful lot. He was funny and things, but I think someone else could have easily played that role, whereas we had, I think, is it Greg Davies? I really enjoyed his character, and for all he was funny as well, he kind of brought that dark side that the episode did need as well.
Yeah, he did a good job of doing both sides of it. Not only did he have that sort of the sort of booming voice when he's telling them in order to kill them and stuff, but just the comedy moments where he's the head in the bag and he's shouting at them and the Doctor's even laughing for once, that was really cool. I really liked Matt Lucas in it. I thought he didn't really have too much to do, and by the end of the episode he kind of took a step back, and he was sort of the head that was locked away inside the body. But I thought the moments that he did have, it was very Matt Lucas, the noise he would make when the Doctor told him that he wasn't the surgeon. And these reactions, I thought they were really cool. The totally Matt Lucas. It's exactly what I expected from him. I thought he did pretty well with it.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. He did really well. He kind of brought that campness that you know from Matt Lucas, and I did enjoy him. I just wish he kind of had a bit more of a role to play as opposed to just being a head on a robot. And it was kind of interesting because I know before the episode we spoke about we weren't really looking forward to another robot, but for me personally, I really enjoyed the robot. I think they did a brilliant piece with it, and it was also kind of this big evil force. It wasn't too overpowering, but it was kind of comedy as well. I think they hit it right on the head with it. It was a good I'd say it was in the middle. When it needed to be intimidating, it was, and then when you needed those comedy moments, it was that as well.
Yeah, they did. They hit right on the multiple heads. There's so many of them, just interchanging with them. But I thought it was pretty cool. It wasn't what I expected, because when we first seen the pictures and when seeing this huge impending robot that was overshadowing all of them, I thought it's going to be this big character, really powerful. But it didn't really come across that way. I don't think it really did too much, aside from beheading the other two guys. So it felt not so much like a villain, I guess, in a way. It didn't really do too much. And even the king himself, was he really a villain in this? Because it was River Song that was more the villain, trying to kill him and steal this diamond or steal his head. So I know he'd done all these bad things in the past, and the Doctor mentioned that, and River also mentioned it about it wasn't going to play on her conscience. So I can see why they kind of got away with that. I didn't think he was too bad in it, in the episode itself. I kind of felt sorry for him. They're going to steal his head. But even the robot got rid of him in the end.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Like you say, he didn't do an awful lot in the episode to be this massive villain, but I think it's because of the storytelling, where he's burned planets and whatnot in the past. I think it did, but I think we could have seen him murder a few people here and there just to maybe emphasise how bad he really was.
Yeah, I think so. That was the only thing that we didn't really get. Anything that really showed what he was doing, we just had them telling the tales of what happened. and then the guys that come in, I can't remember the race of them, but the guys with the split heads, they all seem to like really be behind him as well. And I guess it's all because of what they said in the episode, but not seeing that, it kind of took away from it a little bit. But like you said, even though I didn't go into this thinking I'm going to enjoy the robots, I found out that I come out of it, and I did quite actually like the robots, or the androids, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the best use they've had from them so far. And like you said, I really did enjoy it. Like, we had the whole like lie detector thing, you could say, with the River Song. That was used really well. And then obviously the interchanging heads like really added to it. And like you said, when it needed to be serious, it was. And when it needed those comedy moments, it done really well with them.
It did. And I think overall, the story, there wasn't too much there apart from this diamond. I think that was pretty well done, I guess, for what it was. But it was mainly all about River Song. So what did you really make of this? Do you think they really needed to bring River back into this and just tie up a few of the loose ends? Because I think a lot of us thought that her story was kind of done by now.
Yeah, it's like a really interesting one, because for me, I'm like a huge River fan. So like, as soon as I heard she was coming back, like, I was over the moon. And I don't think they really did need to bring her back. But if you are a River Song, obviously you're not going to complain. I kind of like the dynamic that we kind of saw what River does when the Doctor's not around for all he was and she didn't know. I kind of like seeing that bit more ruthless River, where she was willing to kill someone, whereas if the Doctor had been there, she probably wouldn't be so ruthless and want to kill people. And like, you got to see like this sonic trowel and whatnot. So it was kind of interesting to see this new dynamic from River.
It was really cool. Like, when we first seen her and she explained what she was doing, it was quite dark, and I think the Doctor was quite surprised by it as well. But if that was the tone of like the River's adventures, if we were to get like a spin-off, because I know a lot of people have talked about maybe getting a spin-off with River and Jack Harkness, and I think that'd be really cool. Maybe this is kind of the River that we would see, getting up to these sort of adventures and marrying people just for the diamonds. But I thought it was really cool. I like the way that they've done this. And even though I kind of felt when they first announced it, it's weird to see them bringing in River with this new Doctor that she hasn't really met before. I thought it worked out really well. I think it was really well done. And even though there were just like a little few things for them to tie up, I was so glad that they actually done that, because you know yourself how annoying it is when you get little tiny things that's left unanswered. And even though I had answers for them, like River giving the Doctor giving River the screwdriver, then it's so cool when you actually get that scene and you do see it, and it's not just something that's left to your imagination. So I thought that was really cool. It ties up what happens next when we're going to Silence in the Library, and the screwdriver itself's actually got that relay in there to save her. So I was really cool that I added that, and just all the other little things, the nods to it and the throwbacks to the other River episodes. I thought they'd done it really well, and I was so glad they'd done this in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I remember reading a few years ago that the whole scene with Beryllium, originally they'd brought it in as part of like a DVD bonus where the Doctor, when it was Matt Smith, they'd gone to Beryllium, and you didn't even see any of it. It was just like a conversation. So I was really glad that Beryllium towards the end was like a huge focal point. And even the sonic screwdriver, for some reason, I don't know why, I really didn't think we were going to see it. And then when she was gifted it, it brought things to a close. And it was like a really strange dynamic, because things like getting the gift and things, which is usually a nice thing because of what we know River's future and past and things are, it was kind of really sad, and it was strange to see things like her like usual motto of saying spoilers and hello sweetie, because of the way they were used. It was really interesting to see that they weren't exactly had happy moments and like mysterious. It was like really sad, and you knew that River's time's like almost up, and it was I don't know, for me, it was like really beautiful, and I think they portrayed it brilliantly, and Alex Kingston was on a roll yet again.
She really was. Like, I think they've done this so well. It was really sad as well, and knowing what this leads into with River's End coming up, I guess the reason that we've got this is not just to tie up a few of the loose ends, but also because of the way that things were left with Clara when we last seen Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Because it left Clara at a point where eventually she's got to face her end, she's got to face the Raven. And with River, it is the same thing, except what they're kind of showing is eventually these characters do return to the point that the end is going to be there for them, and they cannot really get away from it. Eventually time is going to catch up with them. So I think for that sense, not only did it make sense tying up all these loose ends, but it also kind of made sense with what we're seeing with Clara and showing, eventually the time is going to come where they do face the death.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say about Clara, I think if the doctor hadn't gone through that with Clara and knowing that Clara can't keep running out anymore, I don't think he probably would have let River go to Beryllium and things and kind of let that play out. But because he knows some things have to come to an end, he was a bit more. I think he'd come to terms with what's going to happen to River, and for all it was like really beautiful at the same time, like he and all of us know what will happen to River, and it was like really touching, and it kind of changes. Like you've gone back since and watched Science in the Library, and it kind of makes the whole episode a lot more sad, and it's done really well, and the writing's really brilliant when you can do things like that were produced like years ago.
It really is. Like, it's added so much to it. Because when I went back and watched it tonight, I watched Science in the Library and then Forest of the Dead, which is the very last one that she's in when she dies. And it adds so much to it. Because when we first watched it, I think Science in the Library is probably one of my favourite episodes. But going back and watching it now that we actually know this character's timeline and everything that she's done and what she means to the Doctor, it's like the first time we seen it, we're seeing it through the Doctor's eyes, where we didn't know this character either. So we're seeing it in that perspective. And now we're going back and we're watching it as though we're watching it through the 12th Doctor's eyes. And it just takes on like a completely different experience, and you really feel for River Song when she sees that the Doctor doesn't know who she is. And it's really heartbreaking when you see that. And I think one of the things that was really cool was someone updated the end scene from Forest of the Dead where she actually does die. And it shows you like the flashes of the Christmas special where you see River Song in the 12th Doctor. And it's so cool to see that, you know, Moffat's planned all of this so long ago. And it's now come all full circle, and it's just tied everything up. And it goes together so well, and it just makes you think, you know, the guy must be a genius to come up with like something as incredible as this, such an amazing story, and be able to tie it up all these years down the line when, you know, he could have just gone with a throwaway character, but bringing her in that episode and knowing all this was going to happen, I think it's been an incredible arc. It's got to be one of like the best story arcs for any character that we've seen in Doctor Who.
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably even go as far as say, like, within any other show. I don't think we've had, like, writing this extensive for God knows how many years. And even just the River Song arc alone, when you combine all the episodes, that whole storyline is, like, really good, and there's been some powerful moments. Fair enough, there's a lot of comedy, but we've actually, like, kind of grown along with River. We've seen her at the beginning of her life, and at the end, kind of like Clara. It's funny, really, because we spoke about, like, Doctor and Clara becoming more and more alike, and this is kind of the same thing, but yeah, it's a whole different dynamic between Doctor and River, and I don't know, I don't think, for me personally, I know I wanted to cling on to Clara, I don't think I'm ready just yet to see River go, and I'm kind of hoping that we're going to see a little bit more before she just go to the library, or maybe just die, or maybe like she says to the Doctor, maybe he can somehow at last minute save her from that inevitable death.
Yeah, I think so. And like you mentioned earlier, I think if it wasn't just what we had with Clara, where he did go to all these extents to try and save her, and it led to him and Clara becoming the hybrid, and him realising, you know, just the lengths that he was going to. I think, like you said, if it wasn't for that, he would have done exactly the same for River. But at the same time, he knows that things with River already kind of worked out because he has saved her. And if he was to change that, not only would it change everything that's happened, it changes their sort of relationship between them. And it would change all of time and everything that happened in between them, which is such a long time when you look at everything that happened with like the 11th Doctor. It kind of skips all of that. So it would be so much to change. I think he's kind of learned he cannot make them changes. Time is set in stone. And at the end of the day, at least he has saved her.
And it's like you said, going back and watching Science in the Library, that's what River stresses. She says, don't you dare change that story, not one line. And even if you just take that line alone, it's like so powerful knowing what they've both been through. And I don't know, I can't really compare it to anything else. It's like we say, it's a really, really good story writing.
It is, and like we just mentioned there, you know, everything that he's planned out, saying that he can't change it. It's just so cool to see the way that this is all being planned out and the way it's been implemented because it's been done so well. So I've just really enjoyed it that much. I mean, we did say like two different dynamics, like you mentioned, with Clara and River. What did you make of the scene with River explaining that she loves the Doctor, but that he doesn't love her back? Do you think he does love her back, really? Or maybe did he love Clara? Because he goes to great lengths for Clara, but at the same time, he does for River, and he knows how her story ends. It's not like he can really change anything else. But as far as River's concerned, when she gets scanned, she fully believes that the Doctor doesn't love her back, which is kind of heartbreaking. What was your take on it?
Like you said, it really was heartbreaking. And like when the lie detector's going off and it's saying she wholeheartedly believes he doesn't love her, it was like really heart-wrenching, even though we know he stood there next to her. It was like really gutting, and it kind of made you think, does the Doctor actually love River? Because for all they've had this like relationship, we've never really seen the Doctor say he does love River. Like in the past, we saw him admit his love for Rose, but when it comes to River, it's always kind of been like, it's always like been in the air but never said. So I was kind of waiting for that moment, and I think he does love River, but I think it's a totally different dynamic between him and Clara. I think that's more of like a best friend thing, whereas River, it's hard to like put a tag on it. I know it's obviously his wife and things, but I don't think until he says it out loud, I don't think we're going to really get an answer.
Yeah, I think that was kind of what I was waiting for in the episode. I thought after he heard that speech, there would be a point at the end where he does say that to her. Because like you mentioned with Rose, I completely overlooked that. But there was a time where you thought, on the Bad Wolf Bay, that was what he was going to say to Rose, that he loves her. And everything we've seen with Clara, it was like he did love her, but like you say, it was more of a best friend. And with River, it's a completely different dynamic. But I think he does love her, and I think that scene, it made him realise, maybe I have to show her that I love her, because obviously she doesn't believe it.
Yeah, definitely. And you just need to like look at the face of both of them. And I definitely think there is love there. It's just, is it the love of lovers, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, there's so many different types of love, and I think this is one where, with it being the Doctor, it's different. I don't think we could really understand it. It's like, humans and Gallifreyans, like they mentioned it in the episode, like I think it was Missy and Clara's conversation, like it's not the same, like between the species. Staying with River, do you think this is the last time that we'll see her, or do you think we're going to see her popping up again? Because like Beryllium, 24 years a night, she's got plenty of time there.
I think that's a really interesting thing. I can't really understand why Moffat decided to do that, because obviously the Doctor's going to age now before we see him again next year, and obviously River's going to have this like 24 years plus before she goes to the library. It's like really interesting, and like with the Clara story, there's a lot more room to do other things. That for all it's good writing, at the same time, I kind of, towards the end of the episode, I wanted a bit more acknowledgement that she either would or she wouldn't be coming back. I think with an open gate like that, sometimes it's good and it kind of leaves you excited, but at the same time, because it's River and we know she's going to die, I think I wanted a bit more stamp on it.
Yeah, I think so. To me, I think if they didn't say the 24 years thing, I think I would have preferred that, knowing that she was going from this to Silence in the Library, where, because they've said it's 24 years, there is now the case where I want to know what happens in them 24 years. Does the Doctor kind of spend it with River to pass the time, show that he does love her, do they go off on more adventures? Does River steal the TARDIS like she revealed in this episode so she can go off on her own adventures and then just pop it back without him knowing? There's so many different things. And I think it would have made more sense to me if it was the last night and it was just a single night. And we did get that. And then we knew from there it was going on to Silence in the Library. And it would have been quite sad. But it does complete that story. I think this leaves it open a bit. They could maybe go off on all these adventures. And then eventually, when they do part ways, River's adventure leads her to the fact that she goes to Silence in the Library. And that is where our story ends.
I think that, like, one of the main things for me is, regardless if she doesn't come back, like, in the next episode, we're going to have the Doctor post, like, this River thing. So it's strange because, like, is he going to be, like, a remorseful Doctor knowing that River's gone and he'll have lost her, or is he going to be happy? And it's kind of weird, and I just hope they don't overskim it. I think we're going to need a little bit of River at the start of next series to get us through, because I think with something like that, if you spend 24 years constantly with someone, you're going to need, like, some sort of repercussions from leaving them to go die, something. So I just hope they don't overskim it and things.
Well, I don't think it's going to be the last time that we see her. I think she will maybe play a part next season. I'm not too sure. I think one of the reasons that he's done this is just to give him that option to maybe bring her back at some point, knowing that there's 24 hours and she can go off and do these things. It's just kind of weird knowing that she says that the last time, the rumours are, the last time that she spends with the Doctor, the last night, is on Beryllium. So that is kind of set now. It's awkward to have something in between there, but I think there's definitely the possibility for it. And I think one of the things that we could get, which would make sense, is not actual River, but post Forest of the Dead River, like we've seen in Name of the Doctor, where it's the data ghost of River that appears. So we could see that interacting with the Doctor in one of the future episodes. And you know, regardless of whether that is the case or whether it's actual River, I think we'll definitely see her in one of the episodes leading up to sort of the end of Moffat's reign, because I think he's probably done this as a way that he can bring her back, just to give her a final send-off. Like we mentioned before about Russell T Davies bringing in all his characters to give them like a little goodbye.
Yeah, I think for me, there was like a really subtle moment as well when the Doctor gives River the screwdriver and he scans her, which obviously later on it means she can be brought back through the data ghost and things. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's some sort of nod that maybe we will get something with the data ghost, maybe next series, maybe a few years down the line. Obviously, something like that could be interpreted where, because he's scanned her in whatever way, maybe he can bring that River back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he did, like, ultimately save her, and he was able to bring her back from that data ghost to an actual physical being. It's one that we'll have to wait and see how Moffat does it, but I'm just looking forward to seeing it, because it's been such a great season, the stories have been so good, and regardless what happens next season, whether it's got River in or not, I can't wait to see what they do. Speaking of next season, and how the Doctor appears going forward, when we seen him at the end of last season, he'd just been told by Clara to be a doctor. What did you take of the way that he acted in this? Did he really be a doctor? I know he was supposed to be a surgeon, but did he act like the Doctor?
It's strange because like throughout the episode, it seemed like there was a lot of conflict again with him. Not so much as we saw towards the end of this season, but like when he let the ship crash with all those people, and he didn't seem that bothered. I know they weren't all full of like really nice people or anything, but it seems very un-Doctor like to let all those people die, and it was kind of strange to see that again, and it makes you wonder like, what is he capable of, and is that something we're going to see again next series?
Yeah, well, I thought it was a bit weird, the ship bit especially. I thought even if like he didn't particularly care for the android and for those people with the slits across the face, then there was obviously all of the people that were working there, and sort of the innocent bystanders, the crew. I thought he would have at least tried to save them. But it was the point where he says to River that none of their lives is worth hers, and she says the same thing back to them, and then they just leave and let the ship crash. I thought that was weird, and especially when he speaks to the guy that's going through the wreckage, and he says that, you know, he doesn't think any of them that were there, if they did survive, were going to be worth it. It didn't seem very Doctor-like at all, and it was like he completely just overlooked everything that Clara's tried to tell him.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was possibly supposed to be as big as we're taking it, but even so, just having that in the episode was totally strange, and yeah, again, it was out of character of what we know the Doctor is, so I kind of hope we're not going to get a darker Doctor again, because it's all we've seen for the past, like, 2 series, you could say. We've seen this grumpy Doctor, but now in this one, we kind of, for all there was, he let the plane crash and things, we kind of saw this, like, happy Doctor, and I hope if River's not going to be in, maybe his time with River is going to make him that bubbly, happy Doctor that we've seen in this episode.
I don't think he's got the eyebrows for it, though. He's got them cross elbows as well, what he mentioned in the episode. So I don't know how it's going to go going forward, but I think we'll probably get a bit of a mixture, a bit of a hybrid next season. He could be a happy, grumpy Doctor. We'll have to see how it plays out. There were a few other little lines in the episode that I think people might have missed. We had to reveal that not only does River have multiple husbands, but she's also had multiple wives, because there's a part where she says that the Doctor sounds like a second wife. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, it's funny because there's like a lot of like throwaway lines yet again, like we had her age and things, but it was interesting to see the fact that the Doctor, yet again, we had it at the very start of the series about him having wives and being with the president's wife and things, and it was kind of interesting to see that River isn't accustomed to just having husbands as well.
Absolutely. I think it was the Doctor that mentioned it, but even mentioned that, you know, she had a relationship or she was married to Stephen Fry.
Yeah, I like that, but I like the conversation where it was kind of like point squaring, like she said, oh, you've been with so and so, and he said, oh, well, you've been with that person. So it was kind of fun to see them bickering about the partners and things.
It was really cool just seeing them having that banter between them. And like I say, overall, it just felt like a really good kind of comedy Christmas episode. And it was so different to the season that we've seen. So I think it was a nice little break.
Yeah, definitely. I think it opens up to like, what the hell could we get next series? Because we've had like this really dark series, maybe we'll go back to like a happy doctor again. It literally feels like when we do get a new series, we're basically going to get a blank slate. Like we've only got Peter Capaldi as the doctor and we don't know if it's going to be a full series, specials or whatnot. So literally it could be anything next year when it comes back.
Well, it literally could. There could be so much that could have. We could have River back, we could have a new companion. So many things they can do, but it's going to be a long time to wait, and I can't wait to see what they do. So I guess that brings us to the end of this week's episode, but make sure to get involved and let us know your thoughts on the Husbands of River song in the comments, and whether you think we've seen the last of River, or if she'll pop again in the Doctor's future. So make sure to let us know in the comments below, or get in touch with us via Twitter at Tardis_Talk, as we look forward to hearing your thoughts. But until next time.
See you later.